All right, the rise of tech fascism. More people are talking about this. There's been different articles about it and some significant articles about it, talking about the Broligarchs. We've got an article from Naomi Klein, a new one, talking about tech fascism and the people involved. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, and others too. So this article first in Rolling Stone, inside Elon Musk's gleeful destruction of government. And this is definitely part of it. I'm not going to go through this article, but it does show the kind of thing that is happening. Elon Musk dismantling the government from within. And what is his agenda? Is he involved with authoritarianism? Is that what he really wants? That does seem to be the case. People are pointing this out. This is the one from Naomi Klein, The Rise of End Times Fascism. The governing ideology of the far right has become a monstrous supremacist survivalism. Our task is to build a movement strong enough to stop them. So talking about what they're doing, detailing, and they haven't hidden it. They've been talking about it for years, but not that many people have been aware of it. So we'll get into that article, but also a TED Talk actually. Carol Cadwalder warns of digital coup in TED Talk, and she was involved in the Cambridge Analytica scandal, or reporting about it, and she's now coming back years later to talk about what's happened. Basically what she talked about is coming true with this tech fascism. She talks about that. She's pretty uncomfortable talking about it. I'm not going to show that video on here because the TED wouldn't allow that for copyright purposes. But this is from Gil Duran talking about it. He says she gave one of the most important talks of our time. We're in the middle of a digital coup. So this is part of this authoritarianism, and she's really concerned about it. Please watch her speech, which is 17 minutes. As I said, I'm not going to put it here, but I'll put a link to it in the description. It is on YouTube. And this is the description of it. We are watching the collapse of the international order in real time, and this is just the start, she says. In a searing talk, she details a fast-moving technological coup and the rise of the broligarchy, an unprecedentedly powerful class of tech executives like Elon Musk, who are complicit in dismantling democracy and enabling authoritarian control across the world. No, not just in the US, these companies have wide reach. She shares a guide on how to digitally disobey in the age of runaway corporate power, data harvesting, and mass surveillance, and reminds you that you have more power than you think. It's a really good talk. It's been getting a lot of views. As I said, I'm going to link to that in the description. And here from Gil as well, pointing to the other article. Gil's website, The Nerd Reich, is really good. I'm going to point to his YouTube channel because YouTube, the algorithm likes to point to YouTube rather than outside. And so his videos have been really good. There's just a few so far, but I really highly recommend them. So this, he points to the End Times Fascism. Naomi Klein and Astra Taylor examine the apocalyptic cult politics of Silicon Valley. Today, The Guardian published a must-read essay. So this is a really new article that outlines the threat of what they call end times fascism, the rise of powerful tech elites who, driven by quasi-religious zeal, seek to disrupt global governments with a networked apartheid state. And so if you haven't heard the term network states yet, that will be part of it. That's what these people are into. And Gil pulls out a quote here. The movement from corporate city-states cannot believe it's good luck. For years, it has been pushing the extreme notion that wealthy, tax-averse people should up and start their own high-tech fiefdoms, whether new countries on artificial islands in the international waters, seasteading, which didn't work out. Peter Thiel was talking about that for a long time. Turns out that wasn't a good idea. Or pro-business freedom cities, which Trump has talked about, such as Prospera, a glorified gated community combined with a Wild West med spa on a Honduran island. So these things are real. These are not just made up. These people, these tech billionaires, are trying to do this. Yet despite backing from the heavy hitter venture capitalists Peter Thiel and Mark Andreessen, their extreme libertarian dreams kept bogging down. It turns out Most self-respecting rich people don't actually want to live on floating oil rigs, which is what seasteading was, even if it means lower taxes. And while Prospera might be nice for a holiday and some body upgrades, supposedly where other regulations don't apply, so, medical experiments and different things can be carried out there. That's the idea. People didn't take much notice of this when they were talking about these city-states or different places around the world where they could go and live and get people to live. But now the other thing that you're trying to do is take over the US government, really, and dismantle democracy. And if you don't think that's true, this is from Peter Thiel's The Education of a Libertarian. Remembering that Peter Thiel funded J.D. Vance to get into government, help him get there. So he's there in the background. Elon Musk is very much in the foreground. But listen to what Peter Thiel actually says about democracy. This is back in 2009, so he's talking about this for a long time, and he hasn't changed his mind on this, I don't think. He's been pretty far right-wing right back to university days, if you've read biographies about him, information about him. He says, I remain committed to the faith of my teenage years, to authentic human freedom as a precondition for the highest good. He's talking about his freedom, of course. I stand against confiscatory taxes, totalitarian collectives, and the ideology of the inevitability of the death of every individual. So there's some pretty interesting stuff in there. For all those reasons, I still call myself libertarian. But, this is what he says, but I must confess that over the last 2 decades, I have changed radically on the question of how to achieve these goals. Most importantly, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. I'm going to say that again, and remember that he has funded J.D. Vance and he's right into right-wing politics in the US. I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. By tracing out the development of my thinking, I hope to frame some of the challenges faced by all classical liberals today. So you can go see the article, it's online. As I said, these people are well into power in the US, high levels of power. And this is the Guardian article with Naomi Klein and Astra Taylor, The Rise of End Times Fascism. I'm going to get into this, but if you're getting value out of this episode so far, I'd really appreciate it if you remember to hit that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. This is a new channel, could really help with spreading it to some new people. Thanks very much. And this article is from back in 2022. Go home. Honduran islanders fight against crypto colonialists. The battle over land rights and sovereignty on the island of Rutan has galvanized the whole country. So these people are fighting back against what these tech billionaires want to do. Now, the first sign that fortunes were shifting came in 2023 when a campaigning Donald Trump, seemingly out of nowhere, promised to hold a contest that would lead to the creation of Freedom Cities on federal lands. The trial balloon, barely registered at the time, lost in the daily deluge of outrageous claims. So yes, flooding the zone, as Steve Bannon said, and Steve Bannon is named in this article as one of the fascists, just not a tech billionaire, but still in that vein of fascism. Since the new administration took office, however, would-be country starters have been on a lobbying blitz determined to turn Trump's pledge into reality. So this is Peter Thiel, David Sachs, Elon Musk, and others too have Trump's ear, and he did mention those freedom cities, and so they are getting their way. I don't think that they thought they might get so far with actually the US, but they are. Inspired by the political philosopher Albert Hirschman, figures including Goff, Peter Thiel, and the investor and writer Balaji Srinivasan have been championing what they call exit, the principle that those with means have the right to walk away from the obligations of citizenship, especially taxes and burdensome regulation. So I've got more to say about that. I live in New Zealand, and Peter Thiel bought citizenship here. He bought a lot of land too. We'll talk about that in a second. Retooling and rebranding the old ambitions and privileges of empires, they dream of splintering governments and carving up the world into hyper-capitalist democracy-free havens under the sole control of the supremely wealthy, protected by private mercenaries, serviced by AI robots, and financed by cryptocurrencies. So this was what they're thinking for these freedom cities or network states outside the US and some inside the US. But now it's looking like they're trying to get into US government. I don't think they can believe their luck there. One might assume that it's contradictory for Trump, elected on a flag-waving America First platform, to lend credence to his vision of sovereign territories ruled by billionaire god kings. And much has been made of the colorful flame wars between MAGA mouthpiece Steve Bannon and proud nationalist and populist and the Trump-allied billionaires he has attacked as techno-feudalists. So Steve Bannon gets it, who don't give a flying F about the human being, let alone the nation state. Still, the underlying visions might not be as incompatible as they first appear. And Elon Musk in particular, because he's with Doge, I want to focus on him. These are just parts of the article. It's a long article. Elon Musk, who dramatically drew his fortune alongside Thiel at PayPal, embodies this implosive ethos. This is a person who looks up at the wonders of the night sky and apparently sees only opportunities to fill that inky unknown with his own space junk. Though he burnished his reputation warning about the dangers of climate change and AI, he and his so-called Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, henchmen now spend their days escalating those same risks and many others by slashing not only environmental regulations, but entire regulatory agencies, with the apparent end goal of replacing federal workers with chatbots. So Elon has definitely changed, or was it all just a front because he could see a way of making money from climate change with electric cars and everything, and now that's dropped. And he doesn't really care about climate change because he thinks this Mars utopia, which really is pie in the sky, literally. How long is it going to take to make a colony on Mars? And that's why he says he wants $1 trillion. But as his ex-friend said in that video I've made on the other channel, he's dangerous and really he wants power here on Earth. And here we have Mark Andreessen, who I haven't mentioned yet, that is involved too. Meanwhile, even darker philosophies are finding a wider audience, like the neo-reactionary pro-monarchy rants of coder Curtis Yarvin, another one of Thiel's intellectual touchstones. So yet known as Thiel's house philosopher, who used to be a programmer, and he wants a monarchy in the US. He wants a CEO dictator, and that's really what he sees Elon Musk is doing. Or the pro-natalism movement's obsession with dramatically increasing the number of Western babies, a Musk fixation. So Western babies, Musk really obviously means white babies when he talks about, the birth rate needs to be kept up, and he talks about Europe and the US, as well as the exit guru Srinivasan's vision of a tech Zionist San Francisco, where corporate loyalists and police join forces to politically cleanse the city of liberals to make way for their networked apartheid state. So can you see how crazy this is, what these people actually want to do? It seems like it's just fiction, but it is what they've been talking about. And this is where I bring New Zealand into it, where Peter Thiel bought land here and bought citizenship. At the dawn of Trump's first term, the New Yorker investigated a phenomenon that is described as doomsday prep for the super rich. Back then, it was already clear that in Silicon Valley and on Wall Street, the more serious high-end survivalists were hedging against climate disruption and social collapse by buying space in the custom-built underground bunkers and building escape homes on high ground in places like Hawaii, where Mark Zuckerberg has downplayed his 5,000 square foot underground pad as a little shelter, and New Zealand, where Thiel purchased nearly 500 acres. That is a lot for where it is and for New Zealand, but found his plan to build a luxury survivalist compound rejected by local authorities in 2022 for being an eyesore. And below that, it outlines what he was trying to do a lodge there, and it is in a very picturesque area, very expensive. The land is very expensive. Obviously, the lodge was some sort of bunker, but it's very strict building code around there because of the scenery, the landscape. And obviously, he wanted to get his own way, but hasn't yet. I don't know. He's talked about other places too. I think he talked about Costa Rica or something like that. But he does have citizenship here in New Zealand. He basically bought that off the key government at the time, I think. So that's just a small taste of those articles and video. Do go and see those now. As I said, I'm going to put a link to that video and the names of the articles. Go and Google those if you want to. They're all online. New articles about this tech fascism, the broligarchy, and people need to know more about what they're up to. So I'm going to put a related video up here if you're watching this on YouTube, and do subscribe to this channel. It's a brand new channel. Just a couple of videos here yet. We've got over 300 subscribers so far. That's great. I'd like to get this channel going with wider politics subjects. So do subscribe, and thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.